Hello, everyone, and thank you for attending our session on empowering parents of gifted students. My name is Ashley Wise, and this year I teach 7th grade math, accelerated math, and Algebra 1. Please know that in addition to our administrators, that I am happy to follow up with you about any questions you may have following our session. For those attending virtually, you're also free to comment or reach out to one of us directly, and we'll get back to you as quickly as we can through email. For this session, we are going to focus on what you, as the parents and families of GCMS students, should know about gifts and talents and the vital role you play in identifying gifts and talents in your child. It's widely accepted both in and out of education that gifts and talents cannot be left unattended. In fact, without identification and encouragement, a student with high potential can begin to underachieve and become apathetic. So, what do we know about giftedness? Listen in as a couple of GCMS students share with you about giftedness. First, we have Ryan.
To be gifted usually means to be naturally good at something.
Next up is Miss Kaylee.
To be being gifted or talented at something is something that you're good at naturally that you could try to learn, but it won't be always be as good as somebody who's gifted in it.
I so appreciate these students and their willingness to share with us what they're learning about themselves as gifted learners. Like you, I'm continuing to learn about the unique abilities that make each of our students with gifts and talents unique. None of us is on this journey alone, and together we are working to support our great young people. And part of that support is overcoming some misconceptions that exist in the realm of gifted education. Unfortunately, gifted students are not always easy to spot, and there are more than a few myths regarding giftedness. We're only going to address a couple of these together as they relate to identification tonight. Our first myth is that gifted students are not always excelling academically. As we mentioned earlier, when a gifted student is not challenged or stimulated to learn, they can downshift or shut down. Underperformance can become a habit in both classrooms and on standardized tests, which makes it even more difficult for teachers to spot those gifts and talents in their students. This waste of talent is a tragedy that we can avoid by working together to identify our potentially gifted students and provide them with the support that they need to reach their full potential and to thrive. This brings us to our second myth that giftedness can be measured on a test. Although high ability can be measured on a test, we recognize that giftedness encompasses much more than test performance. When we look at giftedness as both complex and multifaceted, we recognize that it can manifest in a number of ways in our students. So, what is giftedness really? Let's listen in.
Society identifies the gifted student with high IQ and is quick to stereotype this IQ with subjects or awards. It's a universal misconception. First, let's define gifted. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines gifted as having a great natural ability, but if we look at the National Association of Giftedness, they describe it as giftedness, intelligence, and talent as fluid concepts and may look different in different contexts and cultures. They go on to say gifted children may develop acro-synchronizingly. Their minds are often ahead of their physical growth, and specific cognitive and social emotional functions can develop unevenly. So why is it we think of gifted students as naturals? Why do we think that they don't need help academically, socially, emotionally? Why do we think that they should perform better than average? Giftedness is so much more than an academic label.
Wasn't she lovely? Giftedness is so much more than a label, and it's something that we need to support within our students. In regard to giftedness being more than a label, Kentucky does an excellent job of looking at giftedness as something beyond a singular label. In fact, according to Kentucky's Gifted and Talented Regulation, which our district policy follows, students can be identified as gifted in one or more areas. Those areas include general intellectual aptitude, specific academic aptitude or subject areas, creativity, leadership, and the visual or performing arts. Our district does a great job with combating the misconception that giftedness can be measured with a single test and actually requires three pieces of evidence when identifying each aspect of giftedness. Those pieces of evidence can come from a variety of components, including standardized test scores, student portfolios, referrals from both teachers and parents and students, as well as questionnaires. To help us better understand giftedness, we have this image of a tree. But when we think about the roots of the tree, remember, these are unseen. They're below the ground. And the beautiful tree that we can't help but see above ground. And if you'll look, the things that we can see and hear when it comes to a gifted student are like the tree, but hidden below the surface are strong roots, inquiry, communication skills, and other characteristics that are just below the surface. Since many of these things we're not actually able to observe all the time at school, we really value the input of parents and family members on the perspective that they have for a student's gifts and talents. Which brings us to the parent nomination form. If you'll take a photo with your phone of the QR code there on the screen, and I'll have this up again later in the presentation, this will link you to the parent nomination form. We're going to look at a few of those characteristics together in regard to what you see on the form. So, one of the things you'll notice that they're comparing a bright child to a gifted child. But one of the things about a gifted learner is that they prefer being around adults. Gifted students do often prefer being around older students or adults over being with their same age peers. Sometimes it's said that students need to be with others their own age, but gifted students actually need opportunities to be together with their intellectual peers. Another characteristic of a gifted learner is that they're intense. While they can be present in anyone, there are intensities or excitabilities that are more often found in gifted children and adults. Being intense is similar to another point on the form, showing strong feelings and emotions. Sometimes a gifted student's strong feelings and emotions can overwhelm them. While it might come out as an emotional outburst, sometimes that energy can come out as a psychomotor movement like tapping or bouncing, and is sometimes misdiagnosed as hyperactivity. Other times, they have a heightened awareness of things around them, like light, sound, or even a sensitivity to the emotions of others. Their strong senses can truly help them sense the world around them differently than others. But for a young person, that can be an embarrassing and overwhelming thing. For this reason, it's especially important that we, as the adults in their lives, support and encourage our gifted children that these behaviors, these intensities, these excitabilities are normal parts of being gifted. And in fact, when they're nurtured, they can become among their greatest strengths. We do appreciate your completion of the parent form and recognize that it is an important part of the identification of gifted students. I do hope that this session has been an informative start to your child's identification process for the gifts and the talents that they have within them. Of course, it's only the beginning of the process, but we truly look forward to working with you and your child during their time here at Greene County Middle School. Please remember that we need your help in painting a complete picture of your child's gifts and in supporting them. The effort is worthwhile, however, as proper identification is just the first step in empowering your child to make the most of their gifts and talents. Thank you.